Thank you for joining me for this quick high-level overview of what we call the PRISM 2 Inventory CSV import tool to bring in items into Retail Pro Prism or to export. This is going to be very, very high level, be quick, so bear with me here as we go through it. And I thank you again for joining. You can see on the screen, I have the import tool, export tool up on the screen. And you can see I can work with different subsidiaries. If you have multiple SIBs, we can do that as well. You can see my area format that I'm working on. I can import or export inventory, vendors, or departments. You can see once I choose my area that I'm working with, I have to choose a map. For this particular demonstration, I created one called Basic. And this is my import export file path that I would find on my computer or where I want to put it or where I want to get it from if I'm going to import. Over here are my import settings, a number of different settings when I'm importing. I can have ALU sequences. In other words, I could start my number for my ALU at 100,000 or 200,000 or whatever I want. UPC, same thing. Bunch of different other settings. Again, high level here. We're not going to get into all of that. I can have directories I can actually um, bring in, use an import directory. I can have adjustment memo reasons that are created when I'm bringing these things in as well. This is all import. Over here is my export settings. Basically, I can export by a department subclass or a vendor code or a combination of the two. I can bring out, export out inactive and active or active only. I like to do that when I'm exporting. But for you, you could do basically have the inactive items come out as well if you wanted to um, bring those out into your file. When I come up here and look at my file format, I need to set up this map, this basic map. So here's where I'll do that. In this setup area, I can again select my file format. I'm working with inventory here for this demonstration. And then if I wanted to work with this basic one, you can see I've got available fields that I can import or export. I'm going to choose this basic one. And you can see that I've put a bunch of elements in here to this actual import or export that I'm going to use with this map. I'm telling it what kind of delimiter I'm using. Do I want to export or import the header record with it? And I've got other things in here as well that we could set up. But in this case, you can see that I've got price level, cost, size, attribute, description one, description two, vendor code, DCS, and active. So if I'm good with this, I can move these things up and down. I can delete some stuff. I can bring other things in. And the beauty of this tool as well, if you come down here all the way down, you can see that I could bring in full purchase orders with this because I've got the purchase order elements that I can add to my map, if that makes sense. So I'm going to exit this. And right now I've got a file defined and I've got a folder. So I can actually go ahead and export this. Um, Exporting my entire inventory here, which is probably going to take a little bit of time, but I can do that as well. So let's let that roll. That might take a little bit of time because I do have a pretty good size inventory, but overall it'll export everything I want. And I could show you that. Um, but initially I would probably, if I've got a huge inventory file, I would probably come up here and say, let's export just one department or one vendor, things like that. And I'll show you that once this full export completes. So give me a few seconds here and bear with me while this is going through the motions. Might take a minute or two. Again, thank you for joining. Very, very cool tool. You see that I've got that entire export complete, and I'll show you that one. But for this demonstration, let's do this. Since I called this Nike export, let's try to concentrate on that. What I did there was I just exported my entire inventory into a CSV file, which is fine. I mean, you can do that if you need to. And clearly, I'll show you where that file resides. So now I'm going to name this one Nike export to. I'm going to go ahead and export this again. And you can see that I'm filtering for one vendor. So let's go ahead and bring that folder over to the screen. And if I go ahead and go in here and I say, let's open this with Notepad, you're going to see that I've got a bunch of different things here that exported out that are in my inventory for Nike. And you can see that I've got my mapping because I exported the header in here as well. In other words, I've got my active button. Number one means it's an active item in Prism. My DCS, my vendor code, my description one, two, attribute size, cost, and price. Now, if I wanted to edit these things, I could any of these things and bring them back in. It would recognize that these items exist in Retail Pro already and update those. But for this demonstration, let's take a look at one that I built. I built one here with just a few records as well. Let's open that up. And you can see that I've got the same stuff in my import, and it's called Nike import.csv. I've got three items that it should bring into Retail Pro with this description one and description two, Patriots 2025 champs hoodie. So let's go ahead and close this. Let's get back to, let's drag that off the screen, my import. Let's change the file name here to Nike import.csv. And if everything lines up, I've got my sub, my inventory, the actual header information that I'm working on is this map that I just completed for my export. If I wanted to at this point, I'll just say, okay, let's import this file now and create those three items. I'm going to get a warning that I'm going to change my inventory. And obviously, before you're going to work with this tool, we recommend that you do backups and that kind of thing. I'm going to say yes, I know that. It's unrecoverable if I make changes. It's going to give me a second warning. I'm going to say yes. And it processed those three records. So now let me bring up Prism. Give me a second here while I do that. And bring the Prism screen over to this. And you can see that I've got customized screen. I was demoing another company, but you'll actually see when I go in here into Prism, and I go to my store ops, merchandise, and inventory. Let's say I want to search for that Patriots. And it's in my description one. And if it contains the word Patriots in description one, let's bring it up. And those were the three items in my file that I just brought in. And you can see those were the actual descriptions I had in my file. And that's a very, very quick high-level overview of the inventory import export tool, exporting and actually importing. And you can see that it created my ALU and my UPC in sequence because I have that turned on in Prism. And again, when I was defining that map to bring it in, I could have set that sequence, either one of those. I could have had ALUs included in the file as well, and or UPC, so we could key off those and make changes. Thank you for stopping by and spending a few minutes with me. This is a very, very nice tool to add to your Prism tool set. If you want to dive a little deeper, take a longer look at it, let us know, and we'll be glad to do that for you. Thank you. Bye-bye.